It is no doubt that Anya Taylor-Joy has become a host name, especially in the last 3 years, where some people would say it is a case of overcasting. Personally, I would rather say she is overrated as an actress. In fact, one of the most overrated actresses of our generation, in line with Sydney Sweeney and Zendaya. Basically, there's not too much of a difference between them, and we will talk about how she is overrated as an actress today. If we start with the role she did in The Northman as Olga, where she is nothing more than a classic love story girl from the Middle Ages, and where she in some ways hijacks the story, because this main character determined to meet his destiny at the gates of hell with the big sword fight that ends the movie, is first interrupted by this sidestep where Anya in pure desperation tries to convince Hamlet that he should stay with her and build a life together. She of course acts in pure desperation, but if we had skipped that part, the movie could have moved in the preferred direction a lot easier. She is kinda this strange character bound by the gods and the bloodline as this mythical, rather strange woman, and I don't feel she plays that part with true conviction. Where Willem Dafoe does a great role in the movie, but of course he is underused to make way for Anya Taylor-Joy, and Hamlet, played by Alexander Skarsgård, that also is a better actor in the movie. A second overrated performance from Anya Taylor-Joy would be in the Peaky Blinders show, where she is basically written in just because the actress that played Polly died. As the bratty, arrogant Gina Gray, the daughter of a high-class society kind of guy in New York, she does her usual stiff act as we see her in so many of the later movies she has played in, where she basically is this girl boss high on herself, and the act is of course very stiff, and she just does not fit into the show. Of course, some of the female characters in the show were weak in the first place, but not as weak as Gina Gray. That basically is the roadblock between the Great War between Michael and Thomas Shelby, which of course never really happened. At least not with the bone-crushing intensity it could have had. If we should mention another overrated performance, it would be in one of the most boring movies of 2022, where the only real entertaining moment is to watch De Niro do a small act. Otherwise, it is just like watching paint dry, and the same can be said about Anya's performance, where she basically plays this character that traps her sister in the house because she has gotten sick. Of course, once again, she is this bratty girl boss, and you know people have not grown tired of it. It is a really strange phenomenon. To be fair to Anya, in the next one we will be talking about, we can mention that it is only a voice act, but nonetheless, I will never hesitate to call it overrated, because how she ruins the Peach character by again being a girl boss is as annoying as it gets. In the game, Peach is supposed to be saved, and Mario is supposed to do that mission. Here it is the other way around, and although it of course is fiction and everything, it kinda ruins the concept, because when you voice act, it is all about giving everything, and you feel Chris Pratt, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong and Jack Black as Bowser does that a whole lot more. When Anya does it, it seems forced, and I'm not sure she neither would have liked to play a super OP Peach character. She just did it to be in bed with the times. In June Part 2, she does an uncredited role as Alia Atreides. Of course, she is not a lot in the movie, but when we are in the house, basically of the Emperor, you do feel she once again finds herself in a movie where she is not supposed to be in that particular movie. She should not have had that performance. But at the same time, it can be said about Christopher Walken that just did it for a vacation in Rome. But then again, the same thing can be said about Anya, that basically is both overcasted and does a weak performance. Although she of course have a limited amount of lines. But you gotta work with what you get, and she does not do that here. In the stand-alone Furiosa movie, released now in May, she once again shows herself from the wrong side of a good ability to act. Because as an actress here in the movie, she once again is the stiff girl boss with no emotion. Here in this one, she is fueled by hate as well. Naturally, however, it is a weak act, perhaps the weakest one yet, where actually Lila Brown, that plays the younger version of the character, does a better role than her, because she plays on the emotion, plays on the fragile side of the character, and does not have just one way to act, as this arrogant ice cold character, in this case fueled by hate. I feel you perhaps wanted a character with more layers and not just a character that only shows one emotion and one emotion only. But that is of course a perfect fit for Anya, that thrives on being a girl boss, perhaps not as ice cold and stiff as Zendaya's way to act, but not too far from that either. It would not be fair to Anya to not even include a movie where I also think she does a better act. And just like the one movie I did with Ryan Gosling, I will include such a movie, and that movie is called Split, where she plays a character called Casey Cook. In this role, I think she shows a more fragile side, a more smarter side. Yes, she is still a tough female character on a little bit side of the scale, but not in the OP fashion. Here, as 20 years old, I feel she does a better performance because she plays the rather peculiar girl that seems kind of strange, and where she is kind of mocked by the two other girls. But when they are all kidnapped, she kind of takes over as the smart one and helps them in that situation. This is a role that it takes more of Anya to perform, and it is not the standard act where she needs to look tough and arrogant and act in that way. However, she actually has to show how she is fragile. She has to show how she would act in a heated, insecure situation. Not sure whether she would get out alive or not. And that's why, despite that I think she is overrated as an actress, I think this is the only movie where she is a perfect fit. Now I have gone through a couple of movies and a show where I feel Anya Taylor does overrated performances, as well as her only good act, which leaves very little to say on the subject other than where it stands in this day and age, where young actresses are built up like superstars, like Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, and of course Anya. That's not about their ability to act, but because of their popular standing that makes them reel in the roles. That's why whether we like it or not, we'll get more of Anya in the upcoming movies and years, despite her being overrated in most of her work.